What's up, Facebook? It's Amy Wall, and I'm going live on my own Facebook profile. Happy Friday and good morning to you, wherever you are, or if you're watching this in the future, hello to the future. And just stick with me for a moment, and I'm going to share this out to a group and my page. Maybe not. Okay, technology is always changing, and actually I don't have the inclination to share it around. I'll do that later. So I'm just going to be live streaming this, like literally just letting it flow. So what's up, Facebook? Really, good morning. Just letting it flow. So what's up? Okay, I think I'm still live. Bear with me. Okay. Okay, yes, I'm still live. All right, so this is basically the trailer of a new signature show that I'm putting together called The Highly Visible Woman. And it's brought to you by me, the Skintessa, and I am the curator and channeler and caretaker of an energy called higher self beauty. It is this incredible frequency, and it is really probably the old way. But of course, in beauty, what's old is new again. But it really is it's a new lens and a new perspective in which to practice beauty and to practice the pursuit of better skin, beauty, wellness, whatever you call it. Higher self beauty is that new perspective and that new lens. And I've created something called the higher self beauty effect. And it's what happens when you combine energy illumination, being able to really project that visible light, skin intelligence, of course, skin nutrition, physiology, biology. And then last but certainly not least, and probably should have been first, is the self-image, your self-image, which will definitely be a big topic here at the Highly Visible Woman signature show, because little sneak peek on the self-image. The self-image is the controller of you, your self-image, and she's reprogrammable, and you can be the boss of her, but you have to know how to work with that part of yourself, that invisible part of yourself. So come on and say hello if you're deciding to sit and watch. This is Friday, almost getting into the middle of the day. So I'm imagining most people watch it on the replay. And whenever you come across this, thank you for your time and attention, because I believe that if you do take the time, invest the time to let my words wash over you and to glean a new perspective, it'll be time well invested, and you'll actually get a dividend of results just from watching this live stream. So how does it get even better than that? So if you are watching this, you're on my personal profile. That means we're connected in some way, personally or professionally. And I just wanted to say hi. And it is really my honor and my pleasure to be able to present some of my ideas that are really in furtherance of every single person and woman who watches this. So the reason why it's called the Highly Visible Woman is I am a woman, and that's who I serve. So if you identify as a woman, or you know a woman, or you are a woman, I think this information will be valuable for you. And take what works, leave the rest. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the title, Highly Visible Woman, let's just sit with that for a moment. You know, when I basically get these inspirations and these fully formed ideas just land with me, some call it a download, which is a kind of a neat way to think about it. But they are just like fully formed ideas. I get them from my business entity, right? The business has a consciousness of its own. And then I usually do act on it. If you know me, I do try a lot of different things. I've pivoted my business quite a bit because guess what? Even though I make and sell, I think, the best product line on the market. I mean, I'm sure there's other good stuff that I do use and there's other good stuff out there, but my stuff is like real good. And it's almost impossible for me to sell it without sharing all the stuff that's really underneath why we would be using products in the first place. So how I run my business is quite different than any other beauty practitioner. Yes, I do hold an esthetician license. And yes, I am offering my signature facial experience 2 days a week right now at the Noyo Harbor Inn, which is the absolute jewel of Fort Bragg, California. But it's so much more than that. So I have pivoted quite a bit to try to figure out the best way to support my clients worldwide and sell products in the United States. So I have trainings, I run programs, I have a product line, I do hands-on sessions, VIP days, all sorts of things. But when I get the message from my business, I go out and I try it. So that's why I have a full spectrum to offer you. Just like the visible light spectrum, I've got, from red to purple and all the way in between. So the Highly Visible Woman landed a couple of days ago, and I knew that I wanted to do a live show before. I mean, again, because I had actually had a live video. I had a live video show right when Facebook first started live video. I think it was called Love Amy Live. And I had a group called The Circle, and I went live every week and I gave away products, and it was good. It was the start of all of this, right? And I'm going to get into this. I'm going to get into visibility and why it's actually so difficult for us. But then after that, I realized that I either wasn't giving the right message to the right person at the right time, which is very important in marketing. And I love marketing because marketing is, the fuel that I can put in the car of my business to reach the women out there who desperately need my solution because they are suffering in some way around visibility or their beauty or their skin or their age. So, marketing is very important for that. But again, it was not the right message to the right person at the right time. So I discontinued Love Amy Live. And then the next foray into sharing my thought leadership was Conscious Beauty Talk with the Inspired Choices Network, my radio show and my podcast. And that's really interesting that that's even coming into this conversation, because in hindsight, and actually, if I'm extremely honest with myself, I knew it at the time that I signed up for a radio show that I was hiding. Because how much easier is it to go on a radio show where no one is seeing your face and to talk about these things? It just felt like so safe to me. So, I was just dipping my toe into the water. I didn't really have to be seen. I didn't really have to be visible. So here we come around again, full circle. And how full circle works is that there's always another circle within a circle. Okay. So let's just take a little detour. And if you are energetically inclined, then just follow along with me. Full circle. Now let's go to the center of the circle. The smallest point that you can imagine, if you pinched in and zoomed out, the center would expand and you could walk right through. So that's what we're doing today. We're just going to walk through some of these full circle realizations, and we're just going to walk through the door, and we're going to go behind beauty. We're going to go behind visibility for the sake of business or whatever else. We're going to keep walking through the door till we really get into the heart of your matter. Okay. So coming full circle back from the live video show, the radio show where I really wasn't willing to be visible, and now today, where in fact, in order for me to bring my full potency of what I have to offer to women, which is really, you know, helping them create their next decade's face, a highly visible, radiant, naturally beautiful face and energy and image, I myself have to become highly visible. So that's how my business works. And I just think it's kind of cute and funny how it just all wraps up like that. So I actually have to be the invitation for any of the future clients that might be watching this video. And it doesn't matter if you ever become a client of mine, if you ever buy products or get a custom program from me, or do my 6-month program, which is coming up, opening up soon in September, the Highly Visible Woman, which is going to be a face and energy lift program. So we're going to release and reveal and restore, and actually really tuning into the release of 10 or more visible years. So yeah, so that's it. So that's kind of the beginnings of the show and why I'm here. And I also just, I mean, let's go back to the fact that this is on my personal profile and the concept of being highly visible. So I could have put this on my Facebook group, which is pretty dead, to be honest. I left Facebook groups. I'm kind of an early adopter of things. And then once it gets mainstream, it just doesn't interest me anymore. So I haven't been really having a very bright and shiny Facebook group presence for quite a few years, but I have several groups. So I could have done this live video in the group. That would have been safe because there's people there that know me and love me, and this is on topic for what I do in the group. And then I could have put this over on my page because then that would have been a little bit more safe over there, because at least people have decided they wanted to follow this kind of content. So to come out on my personal profile really is a highly visible move on my part. And I for one, am here for it. So you might, I don't know how we're connected. It could be through business. It could be through skin. It could be through beauty. It could be through energy, spiritualism, family, just plain old friends, you know, through my husband, any manner of connection. But if you have found yourself here in this video, then there's probably some medicine here for you. So that's how the algorithm works. So back to what I just said about how vulnerable it is to be visible. Let's tune into that for a moment. And wouldn't you agree that being visible is vulnerable? So the big problem that I solve for my clients inside through the doorway into the heart of the matter, it's never really about the beautiful skin, is it? It's about that feeling of losing your spark, losing your purpose or not knowing your purpose, and becoming invisible. Ooh. And everything that just brought up and let down, would you be willing to let it all go? Return it to sender with consciousness attached. We'll do a light matrix, clear, cancel, transmute from Mila's wonderful light key frequencies and a pod and POC for good measure from the body of work called Access Consciousness. So here we are. Visibility then, in fact, is vulnerable. And how, as women, do we show up and shine online or, in person with our gifts if we're A, not able to feel comfortable in our own skin, and B, not being willing to be seen in our own skin? So that's why I'm here. That's why I do what I do. And if this is resonating with you and you already are like, yes, this is something I really need help with, then just DM me and we'll just have a very easy conversation about how I can help you. Okay, so visibility, vulnerability, and is visibility really the opposite of being invisible? No, it's not the opposite. It is just a spectrum. So let's go back to science class. Let's call up the image of the visible light spectrum, Roy G. Biv, right? You've got red to ultraviolet. From red to ultraviolet, this is what we see. This is what we are working on as a human with our sense of our sight. So anything that I'm talking about in terms of visibility, beauty or skin wise, we're just talking about the spectrum, right? So the spectrum of visible light is actually right in the middle of the whole entire spectrum of electromagnetic radiation. The other light forms are coming in waves. They're gamma waves, they're microwaves, they are the Wi-Fi waves. They're all of the waves that we cannot see with our eyes. And there are many more types of energy waves, scalar waves. Okay, consciousness is a wave. Whether it can get measured or not, that's just how it works. Okay, so visibility is not the opposite of being invisible, and being invisible is not the enemy. Right? We have to kind of jump out of that duality, right, wrong, good, bad mindset and realize that what's invisible, the invisible elements of us, are perhaps as important or maybe even more important than that visible light spectrum, which we think we exist in, but yet is only a small segment. So I'll just take a breath on that and see if I have any live viewers. My husband has given me a love. Hi, Jeff Wall. I love you. Thanks for seeing me. And that's another thing to think about. If you have a deep need to be seen and you're feeling like you are becoming invisible as you age, are you in fact showing up for yourself? Just letting that land for a moment. So if you're feeling invisible, and this is the invisible that's not in the subconscious realm, this is not in the energetic invisible elements that I want to totally help you bring online and start just like, yeah, all of that good stuff. I'm talking about the invisibility that is feeling all alone, that invisibility that is, I walk down the street and men don't notice me anymore, which is a thing that women go through, even though they hate it when they're young. Okay, so that's a whole nother little string of rubber bands that we will untie at some point. But if you're feeling invisible in a sad and lonely and unworthy type of way, the first thing to do is really look at, are you in fact visible to your own self? And that again is a very deep question, because that brings into the 3 U's that you might not even be working with, but there is the subconscious you, right? The self-image level, all of the underneath the iceberg, there's all of that programming, your epigenetics, your genetics, your ancestral patterning, your mitochondrial bacteria. You got all of that under there. That's the sub underneath. Then we have the superconscious, the higher self, the fractal of the divine, which is its own light, spiritual light, which we'll get into in this show for sure. And then you have your, your conscious mind, your personality, at the personality level, your aware ego. So if you are in fact feeling invisible and starting to feel like, how can I show up and shine online and share my gifts when I feel so dull and there's a sense, there's like a sadness and a just not feeling comfortable in your body that I get from the women that I'm speaking to. So the first thing then to do would be to get to know your self-image and your superconscious, your higher self. Become visible to all the facets of yourself. That's the first step. Now, of course, back to the visible light spectrum and playing with beauty and skin and radiance. And I just love to help women achieve this like sexy, sensual, healthy, happy glow that doesn't have an age associated with it and is not a result of trying to control your expressions with neurotoxins or trying to plump up your face. What does that actually do? I don't know, but my methodology is based on intelligence, energy, and self-image. So I just really love that. But where I was getting at is, if you do want to glow up and you want to have more highly visible, just visible results on your skin and your face, back to the visible light spectrum, if you see, let's make an analogy and then we'll go back to your skin. If you go outside and you see a car and it's brown, I like to use comparisons between cars and houses and people, because they're all 3 kind of the same, right? They're vehicles. The house doesn't move, but it's still, it's something that we live in and that we inhabit. So the house, the car, and the body. Go outside, you see the car, it is brown. The reason why it's brown is it's reflecting the brown spectrum, right? And it's reflecting it into our eyes. Our eyes are reading it as brown. Okay, so that's how it works. I mean, this is at the very, very, very easiest, to understand level. I am not a scientist by any imagination, but I do have a capacity and a capability of sharing scientific concepts in a highly digestible manner. So that's at the core, that's how it works. Your eyes are reading the spectrum. Now, the smoother and the shinier the surface, the more light is going to reflect. And if you want to be highly visible, if you want that glow, one of the secrets to my glow is that my skin is very smooth. Now, there's many ways to achieve smooth skin, many and most of which in the traditional lower caste lowercase beauty industry. And that's what I call basically the beauty matrix, the beauty complex, the big beauty pendulum. there's many ways that people or not people, but brands and companies can help you get that smoother skin to reflect more light, right? It is lasers, microdermabrasion, chemical peels, all sorts of resurfacing, but actually that doesn't work. That is like robbing Peter to pay Paul, because you have residual skin damage every time you inflame your skin or burn it in order to get it to turn over, more smoothness, resurface it, right? Like sanding a piece of wood. We don't want to sand our skin. We don't want to burn our skin, because all we're seeing, that smoothness, is not a result of regenerated telomeres or collagen by any stretch of the imagination. Well, yes, by a stretch of the imagination only. It's a result of a wound. Tight and shiny and smooth is a wound. When the wound heals, the inflammation subsides, you're going to feel like you need another hit. So my philosophy is very anti-inflammatory and around supporting the skin's health at the lower layers with an ingredient delivery system that actually can get all the way down. Light frequencies, LED lights, scalar light, tools like this, all sorts of light, but also gentle resurfacers like enzymes. A tiny bit of acid is okay, alpha hydroxy, just to sweep off those top dead layers. But really, you don't have to resurface your skin to have it smooth. What you need to do is just have some sort of nutrition or some sort of gentle, non-inflammatory way of sweeping and swiping off the top layer of dead skin cells within a rhythm of its own natural turnover. So that's one little beauty bite I can leave with you with today. And I am going to wrap it up here soon, because I could actually just talk for hours and hours and hours about this stuff, because it just flows through me. But to sum it up, if you want more light reflecting from your skin, if you want more of that glow, that radiance that isn't about, wow, you know, she looks like she's had work done, or, you know, any of that, which, hold on, I got to come back to that. You just want to have a way of sweeping and swiping off the top dead layer of skins in a gentle way. Now, if you are watching this and you do lots of peels and plumping and lasering and all of that, that is fine. That is great. That is your choice. I'm offering a different perspective because my perspective is practiced out there. There is a body of work called corneotherapy. I actually got turned on to this way of working with the skin from Dr. Ben Johnson of Osmosis. I worked for them briefly. And I think that the anti-inflammatory way of doing skin is the future of skin, because inflammation is actually at the root of every single disease that we have. So why have we found ourselves at a place and time in the beauty world where we're still recommending women to burn their skin or resurface it with a laser in order to regenerate it? We don't need to do that. There's lots of different ways, and I'm living proof. I'm 53 years old. I don't have any work done, no Botox, no filler, no retinol, no sunscreen, no acids. I don't even get facials, really. I just have my own little secret sauce. And of course, when you work with me, you will find out that recipe. Okay, so let's go back to what I just said about looking like you've had some work done. And this is a little bit of a rabbit hole, but it wouldn't be a live stream with Amy Wall if we didn't go down a rabbit hole, because this is my favorite part. Okay. First of all, back to what I talked to in the beginning of the stream was about the judgment we get from other people, protecting ourselves from that, protecting ourselves from judgment. I didn't actually say it out loud, but I talked about the vulnerability of being visible. It's vulnerable to be visible because we get judged. So back in cavewoman days, which we're still running on that mitochondria, we're still running on those those instincts. We haven't, I mean, we're in the middle of upgrading right now, and a lot of us have upgraded already, but survival programming is large and in charge in 80% of the population. And if you think back to those caveman days, if you're sitting out there being visible, what does that mean? It means you're a target. And it means that you're basically prey. Now, we don't have the fear of the arrows are getting taken down by a warring neighboring tribe. Oh, I mean, we do kind of, right? That's the wars. But what we do have to really worry about as women is the judgment from other women. Ooh, it's just very sour and bitter. So return to sender with consciousness attached. And I'm just going to clean that off me. I get judged a lot and I don't care. I've gotten to the point where I've gone through so many life circumstances that a normal person wouldn't be able to handle. I mean, if you know me and you know my story, holy shit. And if you don't know the whole story, then get to know me and you'll find out. But let's just say that I've gone through some hair-raising life circumstances. And thank God, because every time I've gone through it, I'm like, oh, wow, none of these people's opinions really matter to me at all. But for other people, and for me, I'm not going to say I'm totally immune to it. I mean, it feels more comfortable to me to be invisible and to be doing all of my work behind the scenes. Sure, I love to just write blog posts and mastermind incredible ritual recipes and come up with energy activations and all of the rest. But I need to deliver this information to people. So here I am being visible. So that's the price. But the judgment is, people are afraid of judgment. And, if you really want to get over judgment, get yourself a viral video over at TikTok and then get through all the comments and then you'll get over it. That's what happened to me. But so that was one thing I wanted to mention about visibility and vulnerability. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is actually being visible on a camera. And I wanted to go down the rabbit hole a little bit around plastic surgery, injections. Okay, so we're on a spectrum again. Plastic surgery, injections, tons of lasering and thread lifts and all of that. And then we're going to come to here to just maybe acid, lots of controlling products, microneedling. And then we come here, here's filters, wearing lots of filters on camera. And then right here, we've got makeup. And then there's more. Then we've got the light. I'm sitting in front of a lighted mirror with a light out in front of me. You think I do look like this right now because I know my lighting. Zoom has got me touched up. Those are added layers of protection, right? So all of us have a way that we can protect ourselves in some way through manipulation of the visible light spectrum. But let's get back over here to the top with plastic surgery and lots of injections. And why women would do that. So certainly it is a type of beauty dysmorphia, right? We've all seen women where you think to yourself, oh my gosh, they've gone too far. This is not, and it's almost like they're a caricature of themselves. Madonna is a really good example of this, actually. This is, again, off topic, but her TikTok is really fascinating because she probably just laughs at herself at this point, but I'm not sure if she really still is holding on. She just turned 60, which doesn't matter. She looks much older, and it's not that she looks older, it's just that 60 is young. And I know so many incredibly juicy, fabulous women in their 60s. It's not the fact that Madonna is 60, it's the fact that she's done so much weird plastic surgery that she's a caricature of herself. I'm on a wobble stool, sorry about that. She had a song on there called Never Enough Love, and she was drunk, drinking champagne in her closet, which, by the way, was one of my favorite things to pull. And if you ever spent time with me around 10 years ago, you would be in my closet drinking champagne and probably go home with something fabulous. But this was not like that. This was lip syncing to her song Never Enough Love. And I was just thinking, wow, isn't that really how that is? It's like getting all these procedures done is really like trying to fill an empty well. How can you get there? There's no destination you can get to. You're going to have to keep nipping and keep tucking because there's never enough love. And on that note, back to this concept of visibility, if you get right into her heart of the matter and go through the doorways, this isn't about being visible. She's hiding. Every time you do something that really radically changes your face, cheekbones, lip injections, even an over Botoxed face that you can't do a lot of expressions. I mean, where are those emotions going? Those are neurotransmitters. Those are peptide emotions that are actually being expressed here. So what's happening with that? That's the last place I would ever want to interrupt the cellular crosstalk. But I digress. Let's go back into the inner doorways of someone like Madonna. She's wearing a million masks. She's wearing a million masks. So even though she splashes herself all over the place and has a lot of visibility, the light that's reflected off her does not belong to her at all. And in fact, I believe that this is one of the ways that we as women actually remain safe inside, and the outside just can become this sort of mask that protects us. Because inside, I know Madonna has this like sweetest, most genius, visionary core. And so visibility isn't just about being willing to be made fun of. Visibility really is, again, a spectrum. But at some level, to be truly visible, and I hope that my heart, the heart of my matter, is reaching the heart of yours at some point, really letting our true self, which is this combination of all three of the sub and the super and the self, come all together. You have to really be willing to be seen. And so I hope that this had some medicine for you. We went all around the world today with this subject. So let me know if you like the concept of the highly visible woman as a live stream show. This could also be turned into a podcast. I'm calling this trailer episode number 1. And I hope you have a wonderful Friday. And how you can work with me is you can get a facial experience at the Noyo Harbor Inn. You can get a custom package of tools, LED light, frequencies, microcurrent products, and coaching with me. I'm doing custom programs. Or you can contact me about being one of the 8 women in the upcoming 6-month Face and Energy Lift program, where we are going to be releasing 10 or more visible years and activating your light at the deepest, most spiritual and cellular level. So that's it for me today. I'm going to sign off. Bye.